to the beat of Joyce LaFray Young's Tropic Cooking, Florida's favorite food and restaurant show. Joyce LaFray Young is the author of famous Florida cookbooks and restaurant guides.
Hi, and welcome back to Tropic Cooking. We have a great show planned for you today. I've got as our guest Mark Rodriguez from Jordan's Grove over in Winter Park, and he's come all the way to teach us how to prepare a pan-roasted scamp grouper with mango and a tarragon coulis, which I think you're absolutely going to love. And then after that, we'll be preparing a berry compote from his restaurant. For those of you who are not familiar, it's a very famous restaurant in Winter Park, Florida, and it's been rated top 100 in Epicurean Rendezvous Guide by Lucy Cooper, and also in the top 100 that the Florida Trend magazine puts out every year. So I'm not going to waste too much time here. We've got a lot coming up. We've also got Tropical Can-Do with Dottie Cavallero Chambers, and we're going to find out how to do some very tropical things very, very simply. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Mark Rodriguez from Jordan's Grove.
Hi, Joyce. How you doing?
Great. Welcome to Tropic Cooking, and thank you for traveling all this way, at least, what, an hour and a half or so?
It was a breeze. No traffic. We had a great time.
Super.
Got to go over the big bridge.
Right.
It's very exciting.
It's exciting, right. Well, Mark is not only the owner of Jordan's Grove, but also you very often cook with Claire in the kitchen, right?
Cook about 5 shifts a week, but to give credit where credit is due, our executive chef, as you know, is Claire Epting. And he's the backbone of the cooking. I'm more or less a player coach, but since we had a really busy night tonight, only one of us could go, and it was my night off.
Oh, well, that's great. I'm glad you had the opportunity. Maybe we can have Claire again, and I know so many of the nights there at Jordan's Grove in that beautiful, beautiful old house setting are very, very filled. Dottie and I, you met Dottie Chambers, went up just a couple days ago to enjoy your restaurant, and we had a divine meal. It was really delightful. Tell us a little bit, how about the address? I know we're going to get into this recipe in a second, but how would someone go from Tampa or Clearwater or St. Petersburg to Jordan's Grove?
Just 275 to I-4, I-4 East all the way into Winter Park. You take the third exit in Winter Park, you turn right. You get to 1792, you turn left, and you look around a block after that. We're on the right-hand side. It's a very clean shot from here.
And how did you happen to purchase Jordan's Grove?
It's an interesting story. My family's been in the restaurant business for about 50 years. And I was raised in kitchens and in dining rooms and things of that nature. In fact, my Uncle Tony is watching us in the ready room over there right now, who he taught me a lot of things that I know about the restaurant business. We had a restaurant until about 1981. My family owned a restaurant called Villanova for about 33 years.
And I remember that well. I remember in 1980 we traveled there to review it for a couple of publications, and it was delightful.
It's a great restaurant.
Very heavily, more on the Italian side.
Very Italian. Well, I'm Spanish and half Italian, but I was raised by the Italian side of my family.
But Jordan's Grove, I think you have a couple Italian entrees. And
not really. Even
not too much.
It's just incredibly eclectic. We have a blast cooking at Jordan's because we do a different menu every single day. And we don't have any restriction on what we cook or how we cook it or what we do, with the exception that we use all naturally raised foods.
Everything organically grown?
Not necessarily organic, but the next step below organic is natural, which means there are no antibiotics, there's no hormones, there's no steroids in any of the meats or the fowl. All the fish is fresh. The tarragon right here, grown by Miriam Stanek in Sanford.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a Mexican clone, and it's a very...
Look at the color on that. That's
incredible.
Just absolutely incredible. Very, very bright green. Usually it's a little bit darker green.
And the leaves are a little bit broader and doesn't have the intensity of flavor. This is very, very intense. It's really good stuff. That's
absolutely gorgeous. So you're doing, though, so many of the write-ups that are done about Jordan's Grove are about Florida cuisine.
Because we're trying to establish a Central Florida style of cooking, but in order to do that, of course, we use as many fresh Florida things as we can. In Central Florida, you can include Tampa, really, in that area. We have so many growing areas that people aren't aware of. We grow celery, we grow kale, we grow carrots, we grow potatoes, we grow all sorts of different herbs. When you get far this south, they grow mangoes, they grow carambolas. Where's a Florida carambola? Here's one right here.
Yeah, we were cooking with that just last week with Basta's restaurant here in St. Petersburg. And that's, a lot of things are being discovered. They're even making, pickles out of carambola right now.
Sure, they're very similar to cucumbers in texture. As a matter of fact, they taste more like apples, I think.
And there's quite a variety too, aren't there?
Yeah, there's several different types of carambolas.
The sweet and the sour.
And the tart, yeah, tart carambolas. We use the sweeter ones. These are the sweeter ones right here.
And they're a little yellower, aren't they?
We've got these devil peppers right here. This is actually a habanero clone that, again, Miriam Stanek, who grows a lot of our herbs for us.
And those are hard to find in Florida, aren't they?
Yeah, they're hard to find because once you eat them, most of the people that eat them just die.
Can you get a good shot of that? That's, they just die.
They're so hot.
Are they as hot as a Scotch bonnet, Mark?
These are a variety of Scotch bonnet. So we will not use much of this, but we will put a little bit of this in the mango compote just to give it a little bit of flavor, because these are the most roundly and most, what's the word I'm looking for? They're just the most fully flavored peppers I think that you can get.
Robust, maybe.
Indeed, robust is a good word. But the problem is that they're so incredibly hot. There's a thing called capsaicin. Capsaicin is the oil in the pepper that makes it hot. To give you an example, a bell pepper might have a 1, all right, a sweet bell pepper. A jalapeno might have a 50. This, and I am not kidding you, has a 10,000.
Whew, that's outrageous.
These are very hot.
So that is being a variety of the Scotch bonnet, which I know when I work with Scotch bonnets, or these very hot peppers, which incidentally are available at a lot of the markets now.
That's right.
Publix, I know very often in certain localities, carries a Scotch bonnet, that you have to wear the gloves because
Absolutely. The oils will get all over you, and if you don't wash your hands, I mean, hours later you can touch your finger to the eye and burn yourself. These are called habaneros, and Scotch bonnets are a variety of habanero, and the reason these look the way they do, you won't find these anyplace else, is because when Miriam was growing them, they cross-pollinated with jalapenos.
Oh,
See how long they are?
What a match, huh?
Yeah, so they're a bit milder than a Scotch bonnet, but not by much.
And a beautiful, beautiful color.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're ready to, our viewers out there want to see what you've got to prepare for us. And we've got the, pan-fried scamp grouper?
Pan-fried. We call it actually pan roast because I'm not going to fry it in deep oil or anything. First thing we have to do is get this thing lit, which is a big challenge. But we're going to go ahead, and this scamp grouper is a Florida grouper that is, it's a smaller variety. They only get to about 10 or 12 pounds. They're also called mustard mouth or yellow mouth groupers. They're very tiny. They're caught in shallower waters. Very firm flesh, very sweet flesh. It's my favorite grouper to cook with.
That's interesting. But if perhaps someone can't find the scamp grouper, what can we substitute?
Any grouper, any snapper will work just fine with this. Any firm white fish will work fine with this. I use scamp grouper because the sweetness of the fish plays real well off the tarragon, which we're going to, I've already sort of got a little bit here. We're going to have to move along. I've got the tarragon sort of de-stemmed, and we'll chop it in a second. But we have to do this mango first. This is a Florida mango, by golly. Everything we're using is from Florida.
To hear.
And a lot of people don't know how to peel mangoes. And what I've done is I've taken my paring knife, and you might be able to see the slices here, but I've cut slices into quarters, all right, and I'm going to peel this.
We've done them a couple different ways. This looks a little bit different, Mark.
It's real simple. Real simple and real easy.
And how can you tell if those are ripe?
Mangoes are soft. Sometimes they'll turn red and yellow. You can see a little bit of orange here, but this mango, if you feel here, is soft. You can feel it to the touch.
Yeah, it's very soft.
It's ready to go.
And how can you tell? I know sometimes I've gone into the store and I've chosen one that's overripe.
When they start getting big black spots all over them and there's no green left on them and they're yellow and green and black spots, generally they're just a little bit too ripe unless you're going to use them for puree. The older a mango gets, the more sugar and the more sweet it is. And you can see that this...
That is absolutely beautiful.
They don't
Look at
call
how
this,
juicy.
yeah, they don't call this a love fruit for nothing. This stuff gets all over you. But it's a wonderful flavor. And gosh, if I was just a little more technically adept, I think I'd have this off by now.
I think you're doing a good job right there.
I think we'll start from the other side.
That's pretty good. While you're doing that, we've got a call on line one. If you don't mind, we take a call here.
No, I can talk.
Hi, Ellen.
Hello.
Hi, Ellen. Welcome to Tropic Cooking.
Yeah, I was interested. What's the name of the pepper that you just showed?
That is, believe it or not, we call this a habanero pepper, Ellen, because it is a clone from a Scotch bonnet. The Scotch bonnet is from the habanero family. Miriam, the lady who grows my herbs for me, over in Sanford, right outside of Orlando, was growing some Scotch bonnets for us, and these cross-pollinated with jalapeno. So this is actually a crossbred pepper.
Well, I've had that pepper in Mexico, and I was just wondering where you could get it locally.
I don't know where you can unless you talk to Miriam.
You know, Ellen, I've had a couple people ask me, even some chefs, where they can get it. I think I know Norman Van Aken uses it down in Miami and Amano a lot, and is quite famous for that use. I think probably the next best thing would be to purchase a Scotch bonnet.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
Bye-bye.
Sorry to be so nebulous.
Maybe after the show, they'll become more popular.
Could be, and then we'll have to put Miriam back to work. All right, now, when you guys are peeling mangoes at home, Don't peel too close. Once you get into the seed, it'll get really tannic. It gets sort of a fuzzy flavor to it. All right, now we've got enough mango here to have a little fun with right here. Now I've cut it into chunks. My hands, of course, are completely mango-ized.
Of course, we can't waste the seed. That's one of the best parts, don't you agree?
Yeah, but we can't do that here. We'll get there's got to be some sort of a censorship for eating mango seeds.
Yeah, so after the show, for sure.
After the show, we'll have a little bit of fun with that. Now, all I'm going to do, I'm going to take these carambolas and just get them out of the way because this is going to get a little bit messy. All we're going to do, this is so simple. You can do this at home. It takes 5 minutes once you have the proper tools, which is a knife and a mango. And we're just going to cut it. And as you can see, we're just chopping it. I chop everything very rough. Now, at Jordan's Grove, one of the things you'll notice about the food is that the food all tastes incredible. But we're not tech artists. I can't make little mango squares like some of my compatriots can, who are a little more skillfully trained at knife handling. But we can make anything taste great.
I think also I like that rustic look that you have. It's not perfect. It's not French cuisine as such, but it certainly looks very good.
It's what you're going to find in your house. Let's get rid of this.
Mark, one more call. We've got Bob on line 2. Let's see what he has to say. Bob, welcome to Tropic Cooking.
Hi, I was just wondering, there's so many different species of grouper. Why do you use the scamp?
I use the scamp, Bob, because number one, they're smaller fish. It doesn't take me, an hour and a half to break it down because I never get it to 50 or 60 pounds. A lot of times, if you get a really big fish, you also get huge, thick fillets. They take forever to cook, so they're brown on the outside. Sometimes they're even black on the outside. They're still raw in the middle. I like smaller fish to deal with because I can cook them to more exacting degrees of temperature.
That makes a lot of sense. Anything else, Bob?
That's just about it. That's what I was wondering.
Great, Bob. Well, we've got you on the line there. I want to remind you, and also our viewers out there, that next week we've got live on Tropic Cooking Paul Prudhomme. And he will be here next week at 7 o'clock for one full-hour show. He is coming into the area, but we are the first show here on Tropic Cooking that Paul's going to be appearing on. And we're going to be doing some wonderful dishes from his new book, which is right here. It just came in tonight, as a matter of fact. Federal Express, if you can get a good shot of that. It's called Seasoned America, and this is a little diversion from his Cajun style. We're going to be preparing some really wonderful classic American dishes. So I hope you can tune in, Bob, and thanks so much for calling Tropic Cooking.
Thank you.
We have just attained flame here at our little cooking school here.
Okay.
Okay, now folks, when you're sauteing any fish, or in my opinion, anything at all, you've got to have a hot pan to start out. So we're going to do a little more chopping. When that pan is hot, we'll go ahead and flour the fish and put it in there, but not until.
Okay, so you're heating this without any oil.
Without any oil. Get a hot pan. You can put the oil in later. What happens when you put oil in a cold pan, the oil heats up with the pan, and it just pops all over the world. When you have room temperature oil and you go ahead and put that inside the pan, it heats up faster because the pan's already hot.
Okay, well, we're going to give it a little bit of time now because we need to take a break. And I'd like to remind you at this time, Tropic Cooking is brought to you by the Tampa Tribune, which also brings you Dining by the Bay, which is the Tampa Bay area's finest menu guide. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Eat to the beat of Joyce LaFray Young's Tropic Cooking, Florida's favorite food and restaurant show. Joyce LaFray Young is the author of famous Florida cookbooks and restaurant guides.